What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Coach Black, your internet relationship and breakup coach. Today's topic, this is how you take the power back from your ex. And let me just say, this is by far the most important thing that you have to do after a breakup. If you're sitting at home right now, maybe you're having a hard time going to sleep, and sometimes it's hard to even keep the food down because you keep thinking about this person, you keep crying. Maybe you try to talk to your friends, but they don't really understand why you care at this point. People might just tell you to move on. Obviously, you know it's very difficult to do. I remember back to some of my worst breakups, always thinking like, did the relationship even mean anything to them? Like, how are they able to just move on, like that, like nothing that we invested in each other mattered. And it took me a long time to realize the crux of the problem was that I had lost value in their eye. And a lot of times, even though I had lost value, one, I didn't recognize it, but I did things that actively worked against increasing my value. And that's what I want to stress in this video. So the first thing first, you have to understand that there is a power imbalance with your ex currently. And if you're thinking like, oh, my ex doesn't have any power, what do you mean, coach? Think about it from this perspective. When it comes to all aspects of life, any relationship, whether employer, employee, kids and their parents, whoever is making the decisions usually is the person in the position of power. So when you have a parent and child, right, who is going to make the decision? When you have an employer and employee, who is going to make the decisions? Right? Usually the person with the authority, the more senior person, the person with the most experience, and so on. Now, when a breakup happens, the same dynamic is created because your ex is the one that got to make the choice to leave. You didn't. As we were talking about earlier, is you still cared about them when the breakup happened. You were likely still invested. Maybe you had plans for Christmas. You already fantasized about exchanging gifts. Maybe you have their gift right now. Or you had plans for New Year's Eve, and trips you were going to take next year. Some people I talked to were engaged. So you were still heavily invested, not only physically, not only financially, but emotionally in a future life with this person. And all of that choice was taken away from you the moment they said it's over. There was nothing you can do about it. Now, your ex, on the other hand, it's bad enough that they got to make the choice to do this, to break you in this way. But a lot of times, they have been thinking about this for a long time. This is what's challenging for some people to understand. And even days before the breakup, maybe even a week or weeks, they might have been telling you they love you or they're having a conversation with you, but in the back of their mind, they're still processing, how am I going to have this difficult conversation? How am I going to end this? All right, they've thought about the pros and the cons and what does it mean to leave the relationship. Now, I'll say this, a lot of times what they think is going to happen is not what actually happens. A lot of times they think the breakup is going to be easy. That's true, but at the time they say it's over, they are more emotionally prepared. They've weighed out the pros and cons, and they're like, I will be okay. I'm happy to end this and move forward with my life. I'm gonna find someone else. The grass is greener, etc., etc. So your ex got to make all of the choice and all of the decision, and so they had the power. Before you ever fix things with your ex, before you ever get to that honeymoon phase again, where the conversations are flowing effortlessly, where they're investing in you just as much as you're investing in them. You're telling each other, I love you again. You're spending time with family. Before we get to that place, we have to change the power dynamic, meaning moving forward after the breakup, you need to be making most of the decisions. Now, this isn't, oh, I choose to decide that we're getting back together. No, you can't choose to decide that. But basically, if your ex is going to interact with you after no contact because you're leaving them alone, you're giving them the breakup, you've given them what they're asking for. So if they want to come around that wall that you've created, that boundary of no contact, if they want to come around that wall, they have to do things on your terms. The only terms I'm going to deal with you, the only terms I'm going to interact with you is if things are going in this way. I was talking to some of my clients last week, and what I kept hearing repeatedly was, even though no contact was working, they were starting to have conversations with their ex, but they were not setting the boundaries. They had fallen into having random daily conversations or every couple of days, or a conversation would start. And even though their ex was the one initiating, so they're like, well, coach, I didn't break no contact. They would stay in these conversations that were going nowhere. The ex didn't make any intentions clear of wanting to see them or spend time with them. A lot of times the ex would leave the conversation for hours on end and just pop back in whenever they felt like it. And even when this person, my client, in this example, would suggest like, hey, why don't we do something? Why don't we get together? Why don't you come over? Sometimes the ex would just leave that on red and start a conversation back days later. But because they were in a place of fear and worried that, okay, well, I just have to get them comfortable again. I just have to win them over. Because they were in that place, the ex was still in control. And on the rare occasion, I got a couple of examples where they did spend time together. The ex decided where we're going to go, what we're going to do. All right. And anytime there was any suggestion of flirty banter, the ex would shut it down. And keep in mind, they also had to drive over an hour to meet up with this person. If your ex is still calling all the shots, if they are still deciding when they're going to talk to you, they pop in when they're bored, leave when they have something better to do. They're not putting any effort into these conversations. They're not suggesting getting together. And when you do, they dodge. They're still in control. And if your ex is in control, they will never feel the loss. One of the biggest things that I talk about on this channel is your ex has to feel the loss to come back to you. They have to feel like they are losing something special. And so if you're broken up, essentially you're not really getting any benefits of a relationship. No intimacy, no kind words, no emotional support, no financial support, nothing. But your ex still knows or feels like they can control everything about your interactions with them. What that makes them feel like, well, the only reason why you would drive an hour just because I suggested it is because you're still obsessed with me. So I'm still in control. I haven't lost anything. And they will never, ever come back if this is the frame that you allow them to set. Okay? This is so important. You have to get your power back. You must, which means you have to be stubborn. Your boundaries have to be rigid. They're not flexible. Now, as long as your ex is inside of your boundaries and they're doing things according to the terms you want things to be going, which is romantic, then you can be flexible. You don't have to pressure things. You don't have to force commitment, right? You don't have to force intimacy. But it means they need to be investing more into you after the breakup. They need to prove to you why you should choose to be with them again after they hurt you the way they did, after they broke you the way they did. Okay? This is by far the most important thing. So if you want to get your power back, which you must, you have to be a little stubborn. You can be flexible within your boundaries, but stubborn as long as they're trying to go outside of your boundaries. They want you to drive hours to see them. They want to talk to you whenever they're bored, but they don't want to invest in you. They don't want to invest in the relationship. You just don't accept things like that. And what they will quickly see is that, okay, I misjudged. This person is a person of value, and they're not budging on their boundaries. It's one thing for you to tell your ex, I don't want to be friends. And just because they don't use the word friends doesn't mean you're not acting like a friend. You're there whenever they call you. You're a shoulder to cry on whenever they're flirting with someone else that breaks their heart. These are the simple mistakes you cannot afford to make if you want to fix things with them. Okay? So if you have any thoughts, if you're going through this yourself, please do me a favor, drop a comment. I want to hear your story. Also, if you haven't already, hit the like button for me. I appreciate it. It really means a lot and it helps the channel out. Subscribe to the channel also if you haven't yet. And if you want to talk to me about your situation, click the first link in the description and we can talk about it. I look forward to supporting you on your breakup journey. Thanks again for watching. I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.